Good morning, family. I'm Christy. Welcome to my channel. So, let me scoot back. Is that better? Oh, I need Botox. So bad. By the way, I apologize if it sounds echoey. We have absolutely like, oh God, why am I so far zoomed in? It just shows my wrinkles even more. Oh my God. I don't know. Does that look okay? So I moved out here to Germany and decided to start traveling around, start collecting stamps in my passport, and this is what I did. I don't know if you can see it. This is all the cities and countries I visited. What I'll do is I'll split the screen and I'll start scrolling a list of everywhere I visited since last June. It is now March. All the places that you see with an asterisk next to it, I'll put an asterisk next to them, I've actually made an associated YouTube video about, and I will actually link that down in the description so you can see those videos as well. So let's just get into the best of my European sabbatical, plus some very, very helpful travel tips that I learned along the way. A little bit of a flashback. Before I moved out to Europe, Attila and I went to CAIRO, Egypt, and Greece. So I'll link those videos below. So that kind of like started my little stamp collecting, if you will. And then in June, boots on the ground in Germany. First place we went was Spain. So in June, Attila had to go to Rhonda, Spain for work for 12 days. I went with him. And I rented my own little car, and every day that he would go to work, I would go adventure on all these great places in Spain. I went to Cadiz, I went to Jerez, the wine. Oh, the wineries. Rhonda, Arcos, Seville. Seville. Oh, I can go on and on and on about that town. First helpful tip is rent the smallest car you can. When I say smart car, I mean my Fiat was a little oversized. And if you decide to rent. Me personally, I love taking public transportation. Also, just so you know that when you rent a car in Europe, 95% of the time, it's going to be a standard transmission. They do not believe in automatic cars here in Europe. In the chance that they do have automatic transmissions, you're probably going to have to pay extra. So think about that as well. Small cars, and it will probably be a manual with no air conditioning. Oh, another helpful tip. In Spain, everything opens up around 9 or 10 is when they open up. And then around 1 or 2, depending on whether it's a restaurant, a gas station, or a pharmacy, they close down. Like, lock the doors and don't open up until like 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. If you need an aspirin from the pharmacy, sorry. If you need gas, it's not happening. Everything shuts down. Well, unless you go to like the big cities like Barcelona, Madrid, they stay open. But for the most part, they close down. Like seriously, every evening we would try to have dinner outside of the hotel that we were in. None of the restaurants opened up until like 7:30. I'm sorry, like I'm showering, putting pajamas on, ready to go to bed by 8, okay? Look, I'm older. That's why I need Botox. While we were in Spain, we drove down to Gibraltar, which is a British overseas like territory. At the top of the rock, that's what this little place is. I'll show you. Here's a photo. There's these awesome monkeys. They're actually apes. They're not behind cages. Like this is their home. You're walking around their home. So if you have like a backpack or anything like that, they will open up your backpack looking for snacks. It happened to me. It was awesome. Mr. Benoit had to reach in and grab the little guy's like hand to get her hand out of my backpack, and she barked at him. Oh, I wish we had it on video, but it happened so fast. Here's the one that barked at me right here. Look at this photo. It was actually a lot of fun, but I didn't have any snacks, so whatever. That was pretty cool. And then we did a day trip to Tangier, Morocco. Not a fan at all. I did get to see the Cave of Hercules. We did get some Moroccan spices. Switzerland. I cannot talk enough about Switzerland. The Alps there, the country is so clean, it's natural. We went to Lauterbrunnen, which is called the Valley of 72 Waterfalls. So Switzerland, a couple of things. Switzerland is not a part of the EU. They use the Swiss francs instead of euros, and it's very expensive. Warning, warning, warning. All right, Barcelona, Spain. So I went back to Spain in July and I met up with my wifey, Lanita, and Annie. The very interesting that stands out about Barcelona from all the other places I've been, which if I count it, it's like 22 countries I went to. Dang. And not all Europe. I went to Morocco, I went to Israel. I would say Barcelona has the most interesting architecture. It's a big church in Barcelona that they've been constructing and building for like 170 years. It's still not done, but it's, when you see it, I don't want to say it's pretty because it's really not very pretty, especially if you've gone to Paris and seen like the Notre Dame, that's pretty. It's almost ugly, but it is so different. It's beautiful. And then Gaudi, this architect that was strictly in Barcelona that like built like the House of Bones. And anyway, keep going. Okay, I'm gonna butcher this name. Garmisch, Partenkirchen, Germany. All right, it's where the top of Germany is. It's the highest altitude in Germany. There's also a military like resort there. I mean, I hate to say this. I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings. First of all, disclaimer, sorry. I'm keeping it real and honest. It's Americanized. And when I'm in Europe or traveling around, I don't want to see Americanized places. I want to see real Germany. I want to see real Austria. It was still really neat. It was still really cool. I'm glad I did it. Austria. The Alps in Austria are just as beautiful as Alps in Switzerland. But in Austria, it's cheaper. There is a road that we drove in Austria. Hold on, stand by. Bear with me. How's my hair, by the way? Oh, I need to give a shout out to Ellen. I'm wearing this shirt. Thank you, Ellen, love you. This is gonna be a really good travel video for anybody who wants to just rent a van. Like we had a hippie van. I'm gonna link that video below too. My husband built out this Ford Transit van into like a camper van. All the places that he and I went together was in our van. So we didn't have to pay for hotels. We didn't have to get rental cars. We just drove our van and slept in our van and cooked out of our van. And I can't say enough about the van. So we left Garmisch and we drove down into Austria and hit the road 198. And then we drove that road through the valley in the Alps down to Warth, Austria. That's the most beautiful road I've ever seen in Europe, hands down. We drove it twice, as a matter of fact. Anyway, okay, off my phone. Croatia is a part of the EU. However, they have their own currency as well. They have the kuna. So just advise you of that. Like when you go into Croatia, you need to change out your euros. So we went to, I'm gonna totally butcher this. Again, if I have hurt your feelings or upset you, I'm so sorry. PLITIVICE, PLITIVICE Lakes National Park. I'm gonna link the video below. If you look this up on Google, it will actually say that this national park is like the Garden of Eden in Europe. So you got the upper lakes, you got the lower lakes, and there's all of these just hundreds of cascading waterfalls down these lakes, and you walk all through these like paved paths, and this just, this national park is so beautiful. It's like a hidden jewel in Croatia. It's the diamond in the rough right here. Venice, Italy. So we went to Venice, Italy in July, the very end of July, and I'm gonna tell you, it was so hot. It was so crowded that it was almost miserable. It was just crowded. There were thousands of people on this little island in Venice, Italy. I mean, it was beautiful, like St. Mark's Square, you know, and we went to the Da Vinci Museum, and it was really neat to be in Venice. We took a gondola ride. It was awesome, but it was hot and so crowded that it was just like, we spent one day, literally one day, took the train back out, hopped in our van, and went to the northern Alps of Italy. I'm gonna insert a picture here of where we stayed. I don't even know the name of the town. It wasn't even a town. We just pulled over on the side of the road next to a river. Look at the sunset. And then Attila, he was just fishing in the river all night. It was just amazing. Boondocking. In August, Attila had to go to the UK. He had to go to England for work. So again, I packed up my backpack and I went with him. This was my first time traveling by myself via the train. This was kind of like my chains off, like my busting out, if you will. And I did it in England because they speak English. So I kind of was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I packed up my handy backpack, I got some train tickets, and I went all around England. So the first one I went to was Stratford-Upon-Avon. That's where William Shakespeare was born. I went to Bath, England. I went to Stonehenge, yes. Winchester, England. London, England. I'm glad I went to London. Will I go back? No, pass. Thank you, next. Scotland. That's another one of those places. It ranks up there with Switzerland. Scotland, I love you. And I went with my friend Nicole. So Nicole from Hawaii, she came over and we just traveled around Scotland for like 4 days. Now, we did rent a car. So here I am driving on the right side of the vehicle, on the left side of the road, and these very narrow roads. But to be honest, to get into the Highlands of Scotland, you can't. You need to get a car. You need a car. Scotland, you are the nicest people I met the whole time I've been on this sabbatical. I love you, Scotland. I would go back in a heartbeat. Ireland. I went to Ireland, but it was kind of cut short because I had to go back to America. I definitely need to go back. Switzerland again. I went back to Switzerland. Germany, Switzerland. I just realized, looking at my list, I have lived in Germany for 9 months. And I don't have a single video about Germany. I'm sorry, Germany. Promise, if I get a chance, I will make a Germany video. Back to my list. I got back from America visiting Jacob. I booked a trip and went to Paris by myself. Now Attila, of course, he was working. He had to go back to Spain. So I packed up my backpack with my dog, Addie, caught a train, and we went to Paris for 5 days. I love Paris. I love fashion. It was amazing. I know I'm not a big city girl. It's dirty, it's busy, it's crowded, it's just, but it's Paris. And I bought a Christian Dior. Berchtesgaden, Germany. I have to talk about that. I have to give Germany a shout out right here. Berchtesgaden, I think that's how you say it. We fell in love with this little town. We got in our hippie van, we drove down there. Now this is where King's Lake is, where you have to take like a ferry out to this little island. There's like this old church, and you can only get to it by this ferry. There's also called Eagle's Nest, this little house built on top of the Alps. I mean, that's really all it is. There's a salt mine there, which was awesome. You know what? I wasn't supposed to videotape inside of the salt mine, but if you know me, I really don't do what I'm supposed to do. So here's a little video of the Mirror Lake. Back in October, we went back to Italy. Attila had to go to Naples, Italy to do his TAPS class because he's transitioning out of the Navy in like 90 days. I have to go to Italy anyway, so let's just take a lead before. And I went to Pisa. I had to see the Leaning Tower. And then we went to Rome. Kind of surprised I didn't make a video about that. Sardinia, Italy. Sardinia is up there with Switzerland, Scotland, Sardinia. Top 3. That is also a diamond in the rough right there. Like, I've lived in Hawaii off and on for like 9 years, but the waters of Sardinia, hands down, the most beautiful waters I've ever seen in my life. And there is a video down below on that. Strasbourg, France. Oh, let me tell you, we went there right after Thanksgiving, and Strasbourg is the oldest Christmas market in all of Europe. What a fun little town. And Mr. Benoit is not big onto like crowded spaces, big towns. He even loves Strasbourg. There's a Notre Dame in Strasbourg. Put it on your list. Now, another helpful tip, traveling in Europe by train and bus is so much easier than airplane travel. If you go online to like EasyJet or Ryanair, you can get really, really cheap airline tickets. You know what, let me pull it up. Sorry, I was on the Jeffree Star website. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go Stuttgart and let's say Paris. Departing, let's go today. Let's go tomorrow. How about that? And then return on, say, Friday. Wanna go. Oops, there's no flight connections available for those travel dates are sold out. You don't have this problem on a train. Okay? Okay. EasyJet is really cheap, Ryanair is really cheap, so you can get tickets for like 50 euros or like 60 euros, but this is where they get you. If you have a bag that is more than like 15 pounds, you have to check it. And it's almost 100 euros to check a bag. That's where they get you. On a train, carry whatever you want. Show up 10 minutes before departure time, step on it, sit down, enjoy your time. Not that way in the airlines. Like in the airlines, when you show up at the airport, you guys show up like an hour, 2 hours early. You have to go through security. You have to do all this. And like on a train, I took a train everywhere. When my friend Brian and Brittany, shout out to them, they're getting married this weekend. When they came over here, I took a day trip to Switzerland by train, and I think it was like 40 euros. Oh, also, do not rent a car in the big cities. If you go to London or if you go to Paris and you go to Rome and you rent a car, you will be miserable, okay? The roads are like tiny. The traffic is horrible. Finding parking is the worst. Get on public transportation if you go to a big city. In Paris, it was so easy traveling around. I got a little ticket, a little Paris visitor pass. I think for 3 days, it was like 26 euros, and I could take the train, the metro, the RER, the buses, anywhere for 26 euros for 3 days. I got a cut right here. I got to cut in, family. So I was on hour 3 of editing this video when I realized that I talked about trains, I talked about buses, I talked about transportation, rental cars. I forgot to talk about hotels and stuff. I'm so sorry. So here it is. Attila and I, whenever we would go on his work trips, we would be in a hotel. When we would go into the Alps or Austria, we would be in the hippie bin. When I was traveling by myself to like Paris or Brussels or anywhere in Belgium or Amsterdam, even in Krakow, Poland, hostels. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Christy, you are 40 years old. What are you doing in a hostel? Believe it or not, I was not the oldest person there. Hostels, hostels, hostels. You can go, there's a Hostel World app that you can go to. Definitely read the reviews. All right, check this out. So the last time I went to Paris, I went there for 4 days, 3 nights, and it was only 90 euros in a hostel, the St. Christopher Inn hostel. And I got 25% off my dinners right there at the restaurant. I mean, 90 euros in Paris? And that's for 3 nights. Girl. Next, if we couldn't find a good hostel, Airbnb. Airbnb. I could not say that enough. Get train tickets, get a flex bus, get public transportation locked in. Sorry, Addie is like walking around. Addie, what are you doing? You want to be in the video? Come here. My dog. No, you can't have my lip gloss. What? So, hostels, Airbnbs, trains, flex buses, amazing, the cheap way to travel Europe. Because I mean, you buy tickets to get all the way over here that are super expensive. The last thing you want to do is spend tons of money in hotels. You're only there to sleep and to take a shower. There's nothing wrong with a hostel. 22 years in the military, I'm happy to have a bed, okay? Back to the list. Salzburg, Austria, that's where they play The Sound of Music. That's also where Mozart was born. Hungary. Then we went to Budapest. Okay, Budapest, let's talk about it. I've already talked about how I love Switzerland, how I love Paris, Scotland. Budapest was probably my biggest surprise. Like, I was shocked. I was shook. I didn't know what to expect with Hungary because I didn't know a lot about the country of Hungary. All I knew is that my husband is from Hungary. Thank you. I love him. Getting to learn about my husband's culture, where he's from, I was happily surprised by the country of Hungary and the city of Budapest. Next to Paris, it's my favorite big city in Europe, especially at night. Standing at the Buda Castle, looking over the Chain Bridge and Parliament at nighttime. Let me insert a photo right here. Beautiful. I love you, Budapest. I went back home to Hawaii to visit family and friends, and then I came back until I was in Israel. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna land in Amsterdam and I'm gonna catch a train and I'm just gonna have fun while my man's working. Then I took a train to Brussels, Belgium. Yes, I had a waffle. Then I went to Berlin there to see Uwe, Kirsten, my family. After Berlin, I caught a flight and went to Israel. Now Attila was in Israel, he was in Tel Aviv doing work. So I took a trip to Bethlehem. I got to see where Jesus was born. Jerusalem, I saw where Jesus died. Jericho, Israel, which is one of the oldest cities in the world. I went to the Dead Sea. Yes, I did. I floated in the Dead Sea in January. And then I did a day trip to Petra, Jordan from Tel Aviv. So I caught a flight down, crossed the border into Jordan and did a tour. Oh, I met my Canadian family. Hi, Kate. Amazing. I really wish Attila would have came. He would have absolutely loved that. Now, let me talk about Israel. Coming into Israel, leaving Israel to go to Jordan, and then coming back from Jordan back into Israel, the security at the airport, unbelievable. I have a lot of stamps in my passport. I've been to CAIRO. I've been to Morocco. Now Jordan. So going in and out of Israel, when they saw my passport, they literally pulled me aside into a separate room, asking me like 50, you know what? Watch this video. All right. Trying to get back to Tel Aviv, to Mr. Benoit. Now I thought it was really weird this morning at like 5 o'clock when I got the complete shakedown. Like they asked me like 30 questions when they looked at my passport, saying, what are you doing? Why are you going to Jordan? Why were you in Egypt? I'm on a sabbatical, people. They just did it again, all right? I'm trying to get back to Tel Aviv, and they completely pulled me back to a side room again, asking me like 30 fitty questions, asking why I went to CAIRO. Why'd you go to Morocco? Why'd you go to Jordan? Israel, I promise you, I am the safest person in your country. That's what happened to me in Israel. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan. I get it, I get it. It's for security. I understand Israel, you as a country, you've been through a lot. But I promise you, I am the safest person in your country. Anyway, after that, so out of all these travels and the sabbatical and all the places and adventures that Attila and I went through, the only thing he asked for, he's like, Christy, I want to go to Poland and see Auschwitz 1 and 2. 3 weeks before leaving Europe, we went to Auschwitz. We went in February. We went last month. Video below. And then we did a tour, a day trip to Auschwitz, the concentration camps in Poland, which was the deadliest concentration camp in World War II and Holocaust history. Over 1.1 million people died there. That was like so sad. The last adventure that Attila and I did was this past weekend. We went back to Amsterdam, saw the red light district, saw the Anne Frank house. We saw Post Malone in concert in Amsterdam. Low key, I am like Post Malone's biggest fan. Yes, I'm old enough to be his mother, and that was like our last little hoorah in Europe. And so now here I am in my living room, 2 days from getting on a plane, leaving Europe to go back to the US of America. So anyway, please subscribe to my channel, hit that little bell to get some notifications, because the videos aren't gonna stop just because I'm going back to America. I'm gonna continue making videos. We're going to Alaska, we're gonna buy an RV. I'll start flying helicopters again. Please stay tuned. Thank you for watching my video. Give me a thumbs up. And there's more coming up.